Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Browns Latest. I'm Dave Grendzynski, and this is where you can come on in and get caught up on some of the latest news involving our favorite team in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns. And you also get a take or two along the way. Thank you to everyone who has liked the previous episodes. Hopefully, you'll like this episode. And all of you who have already subscribed to the channel. I cannot thank you enough for all of the support you have shown our little show. Speaking of, on today's show, OTA Day 6 today. And we have an insane amount of wide receivers out there catching passes to make sure all four of our quarterbacks get reps. But I'm scratching my head over the one pass catcher who's still missing. Also on the show, if we are truly in the mix to trade for Kyle Pitts, then I think there's another tight end we could consider as well. How about this? A well-respected reporter around the NFL has some nice things to say about one of our rookie quarterbacks, but then also some not so nice things to say about the other. And down in the viewer comments, one person explains why that all the attention that Shedeur Sanders is bringing to the Browns doesn't really matter to Browns fans. So we'll get into that as well. But first things first, OTAs, they're back at it today. No media today. And this will set the stage. This is the last one before minicamp starts on Tuesday. And then we will have another set of OTAs the week of June 16th. So the stage is set. We're going to kind of rounding third and heading home here on the off season, and then they'll get a break, the summer break, and then training camp will start in July. But one person that unless there's a miracle and we don't know something, he shows up miraculously today. But one person you won't see out there is Diontae Johnson, and I don't know, I just don't understand why. I mean, this is a guy who's he's playing for his NFL life, I think, in many respects. I mean, he's only 28, so it's not like he's, at the end of his career. And, you got all the vets out there. All the veteran wide receivers are out there except for him. I mean, Judy's out there. You said Tillman's there. Thrash. They're all there, man, doing their thing. And you see so many videos of Judy. I just think, this would be a great opportunity for him, to start a rapport with whether it's Flacco or Pickett. I mean, all the quarterbacks, Gabriel, Shedeur, like why isn't he there? And here, let's give you a look at his stats. And you could see last year, I mean, after Carolina, which he wasn't bad in the beginning at Carolina. I mean, I had him on my fantasy team, and he was actually pretty strong to start the season. And then it just started fading, and then he had the short time in Baltimore, and that ended in disaster. And then Houston picked him up at the end of the year, and it was really a lost season for him. And so, just from the perspective of this is a guy who, I don't know, this could be his last shot, and he's not there at OTAs, and I think that he could really benefit, from this, but we'll see. He's like I mentioned, 28, and for him just to not be there, it's just, I don't know, it's a bit perplexing. Other free agent wide receivers that are still out there, Amari Cooper's still out there if you're interested. Keenan Allen, that's a guy that I really like. I mean, you put him in a slot. Look out. And Gabe Davis, who Pittsburgh is talking to now. So there are some other guys out there. There's other guys that are missing from OTAs, along with Johnson, Myles Garrett, of course, David Njoku, which that's another one. I'm like, I don't know. I saw him, I don't know, he's out in some mountain or something with his shirt off somewhere, Njoku. Jack Conklin and Joel Bitonio, of course, but Bitonio's never there. It was nice to see Greg Newsome come back this week. He's out there. So, all the veteran DBs are out there, So, I don't know, man. I just think from a leadership standpoint, it kind of resembles the Myles Garrett thing from me. I just wish Diontae Johnson would be out there doing his thing. Now, another thing, we talked about Kyle Pitts, and we heard that the Browns were one of 6 teams possibly thinking about trading for Kyle Pitts in Atlanta. And, now, there's all this talk about Jonnu Smith going to Pittsburgh because he's not happy with his contract in Miami. And although they think they're going to work things out in Miami, Pittsburgh is, still, because they had Donald Parham Jr. tear his Achilles the other day. And so, Smith, they're going to need a tight end. Now, part of this for me is let's stick it to Pittsburgh and make sure they don't get him. So, if he does want to get out of Miami, but look at his stats. I mean, he had a great year last year. 88 catches, 884 yards. Now, here's the thing, though, that bugs me about it is, he signed this 2-year deal with Miami, and, his contract is worth 4.8 for this year. And my problem is like if you sign the deal, you gotta play out the deal. If Miami comes to you and says, "Hey, we want to, we're gonna hook you up," that's one thing. But to start causing problems, for a contract you just signed, I don't know. But here's the thing. Anyway, that's why Pittsburgh got into the mix after Parham went down. They're trying. They still have Freiermuth and Darnell Washington, but there's a lot of talk that Pittsburgh wants to try and get him there, but his agent says they really think they're going to be able to work things out with Miami. He wants to stay in Miami because that's where he works out there. He has a home there, and so. But I just was thinking, well, look. If we're in the mix for Pitts, and if the Pitts thing doesn't work out, if we can't get Pitts in here, and I would 100% just to stick it to Pittsburgh, I would go after Jonnu Smith and get him here as our third tight end. So anyway, just something to think about, something to watch as they continue those, we'll call them negotiations with the Steelers. Bleh. All right, how about this? ESPN reporter. Her name is Kimberly A. Martin, and she's well respected. Won a ton of awards, NABJ awards, and she's like very well decorated. She was on ESPN's Get Up the other day. I wanted to get to this yesterday, but there was just so much going on with the OTA and Shador's big day and everything. I just couldn't get to this, but we have to talk about this because she went in there and she said, "Look, there's a path for Shador to become the starter week 1. And she said a big part of it is Shador doing the work, which she said this is from people in the building, folks. This isn't just her like giving her opinion. These are her sources in the building saying this. He's got a path to be the number 1 quarterback come week 1. And and she said that it's about him doing the work, and he's doing the work. I mean, he's soaking everything in like a sponge, talking to Flacco and everything. And then she got to Dillon Gabriel. And this is just what she is hearing from her people in the building. This is what they said, the people in the building, to Kimberly A. Martin, ESPN NFL reporter. She said they spent a lot of time talking about Shador, but Dillon Gabriel is a guy who was drafted in the 3rd round. One source told her he is meaning Gabriel, he is everything you want in a quarterback. He's just small. If he were just a little taller, a lot of people would be looking at Dillon Gabriel a little differently. At least that's how they feel in the building. And I was like, wow. Coming from inside the building, the height thing, man, it just doesn't go away. And then, he's everybody's calling it a struggle on Wednesday at OTAs. I mean, and so there's that adjustment period, and it I don't know, man. This pick, and I'm still searching for a Browns fan who thought it was a great idea to take him in the 3rd round. I'm still looking. If I ever find somebody, I'll let you know. But I'm looking hard. I keep telling you, folks, if we'd have taken Shador in the 3rd and him in the 5th or the 6th, everybody might be like, all right, whatever, But taking him in the 3rd, man, nobody gets it, and so we'll see. We'll see the way it plays out. But I will also say, I mean. It just, to me, I would rather see, let Shador take over like a little later in the season. I want him to soak in as much as he can. I want to set him up to win if he is indeed, on that path to become the Browns starting quarterback. And so we want all tight spirals around here. And you know what? Speaking of tight spirals, it's you guys in the viewer comments. It's always tight spirals. And so let's start today with RJ3097, who says, I agree. If you're the best and playing against average talent, you have to show no mercy, LOL. Remember yesterday when we were talking about Shador? And I said, okay, so he didn't go against the first team defense, but he went out there and he showed up. It's like whoever's in front of you, tear him up. If it's a 2nd string, it's a 3rd string, tear him up. And, that's all you can do. And that's what he did. Jay Grooven, number 1, says after training camp or sometime before, this is his prediction, the number one quarterback will be Shedeur Sanders. Joe Flacco will be second. Gabriel will be on the scout team. I think he could get through waivers. I think if they put him on the practice squad, he could probably make it through waivers. And then Pickett cut. I don't know if they cut Pickett. I think they would absolutely try to get something for him if they go ahead and trade him. But the other thing I'm going to tell you, Jay Gruden, is I think he will have a shot at the number one quarterback spot. I mean, they went out. He's the first guy they went out and got. So there's something to be said about that. Just like you have to keep going back to Dylan Gabriel being picked in the third round. There's something to be said about that. So you have to let it all play out. All right, Green-Eyed Rogue. I love this handle. Green-Eyed Rogue. Listen to this. He says, people in the chat keep repeating the same comment that like Browns fans care about the attention. He's like we hear a lot of chatter in the comments about, nobody would be talking about the Browns if Shedeur wasn't there, or there'd be no attention put on the Browns, if Shedeur. Look, we've been through something like this before, and not only with Baker, but also when Johnny Manziel was here, that truly was a circus when Johnny Manziel was here. So we've seen this kind of thing before. But here's what Green-Eyed. This is why I used his comment, folks. Green-Eyed Rogue says, we don't care about the attention. We're the diehard fools who love a team that keeps breaking our hearts. We've had more quarterbacks than any other team. That's not a stat to be proud of, but that's the reality. Shedeur obviously has talent, and he's been doing really well in OTAs, and Browns fans like me are hopeful he can elevate our offense. But we've been burned before, so we are going to stay cautious until he proves he can play at the pro level. Green-Eyed Rogue, great take. And I'll double down on it. Like, not only do we have the quarterback thing, we haven't had two consecutive winning seasons since Bernie. That's how bad it's been, folks. But every year we show up. And like I've mentioned this before, there are Browns backers clubs around the world. I mean, there are millions of people that love this team. Each and every year, despite the record, despite what happens, the Muni lot every Sunday is full. Brown Sundays, the entire city shuts down. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's always been. And if this team ever gets back to the way it was when we had Bernie and Brian Seipel back in those days, it is really going to be something special. But Green-Eyed Rogue is right. It's like a sickness almost. It's like a disease, it's sometimes. But we're never going to stop loving them, man. Love our Brownies. All right, Walter Bradley, 8734, says they need to win games before they get a new stadium. Remember we talked about District 46, and I said that's little brother to what's coming out in Brook Park. And unfortunately, Walter Bradley, 8734, the stadium's coming no matter what. They don't need wins because, honestly, this talk of this building this dome stadium started because of Deshaun Watson. I'm telling you, folks, Watson didn't want to come here because it was cold, and they were doing everything they possibly could to make this work after giving him $230 million guaranteed, and including Havlin said, "All right, well, I'll get you a dome stadium then too. If you don't like the cold, if that's the problem, well, you can play inside." That's where a lot of this talk started, folks, and so. I don't care. We're going to benefit anyway. And now we're going to have, you'll have the facility in Berea and the community and that neighborhood all set up. And we'll have the setup in Brook Park. It's going to be nice when it's all done. And it's not a done deal yet, but it's super, super close. The money, they're just working out the money now. And we'll end on D. Jeffries, 3493. He says, other than a Guardians or Cavs game, why would anybody go downtown? All the action will be in Brook Park and Berea. The city of Cleveland has simply waited too long to develop the lakefront and downtown. I'm over 60 and waited 50 years to see progress downtown, and they are still talking about the plans that they have. They are too slow. A dome stadium should have been built downtown decades ago. D. Jeffries, 3493. That is something that could have come out of my mouth because I 100% agree. I've been saying this for years, and I'm not as old as you, but I'll tell you this: all we ever heard, they're going to develop the lakefront. They're going to develop the lakefront. They're going to develop the lakefront. It never happens, and it's always an excuse. Burke Airport, or the Brown Stadium, or Whiskey Island, or whatever. There's always an excuse, and it's no mayor after mayor after mayor after mayor. So finally, enough is enough. Move them to Brook Park and develop that. Show them what they should have done. I mean, they're, and I talked about this before. You go to other places and you see lakefronts, even places like Baltimore and places, that have water, and the things they do on their water, with their water, it's crazy. So anyway, definitely agree with you, D. Jeffries 3493. Okay, we'll see what we can get out of today's OTAs, and we'll be back tomorrow with more. Thank you so much for joining us today and for joining us each and every day here on Browns Latest. All right, go Browns. We'll see you next time.